Welcome back to the channel, folks, and welcome back to another Royal Enfield review. To be specific, today I'm on the Classic 650, a sort of late 1940s styled motorcycle. Now with the 650cc engine out of the Interceptor, promises to be a much better bike than the Classic 350 that I know pretty well. So stick around and stay tuned, I'll tell you what I think of it. Hey kids, Sebastian Fly here, hope you're well. Welcome back to rather foggy and grey Great Britain today, where autumn is properly set in, and I'm stuck behind a very slow Land Cruiser indeed, but we'll get rid of him very shortly. Anyway, the Royal Enfield Classic 650 then, a bike that I've been really looking forward to riding, because I know the Classic 350 pretty well. I borrowed one last year from Royal Enfield and had it for 6 months as a long-termer, and although I love the styling of it, ultimately I felt the bike was let down by its low power and it's really heavy weight. The two combined just made for a bike that was just a bit too slow to be practical. Now bikes like this of course aren't all about speed, but you do need a certain amount, don't you, to be practical when you're in amongst traffic and so on. So this bike with that bigger engine, which I know well because I'm an owner of a Interceptor 650, promises to be a huge improvement. So the question is this going to be a case of classic charm, or is it going to be a heavyweight disappointment? Well, stick around and stay tuned, and I'll let you know. Before we get into how she rides, as usual, let's take a look over this bike. Okay, here she is then, the Royal Enfield Classic 650. I think an absolutely classic looking bike. Not too sure about this baby blue colour. I think this is called teal green actually, but to me it looks like a sort of powder puff blue. My least favourite of all the colours. It comes in a black and gold, which is probably the one I'd have, and also a red, and they all come slightly different pricing, which I'll talk about when we go through the specs. But there we go, look at that. As I say, proper 1940s design. There's elements about this that I absolutely love, so a few little things to point out. First off, I love this little lip here over the now LED headlight as well, but this nice little lip here, it's sort of reminiscent of, I don't know, being in a blackout or something, isn't it? I like that. These little eyebrow lights up here, again, the sort of thing, and in fact this whole nacelle that the instruments are kept in is very reminiscent of bikes of that sort of era, isn't it? Proper big old clunky mudguard on here, look, right the way down here, so you're not going to get crud thrown all over the oil cooler that itself has a little guard on. Really like that as well, really sturdy looking mudguard. And something I've noticed about it here, this coach line, look, is actually hand painted. I don't know if you can see closely with this camera, but you can actually see the brush marks in there. There has been a man in a factory in India actually painting that on with his hand, and it's not just that one either. When you look on the fuel tank here, this one here, look as well, it's a hand painted line on there. You don't see that very often. Look at that, properly around there. There's somebody whose job it is to paint that line on Royal Enfield tanks. And even the one down here as well, this thinner one, look, you can see the brush mark at the end of that. That is all hand painted coach line. These are stickers of course, but I do like that Royal Enfield have done that. Triumph used to do that on some of their bikes and they stopped doing it, I guess, for cost reasons. It's brilliant that you know, there are still some manufacturers that use the old school techniques. Proper craftsmen have done that. I like the engine on here. Another thing I like about it, in terms of the fact that it's now the chrome type, you can polish these up and make them look really good. And something I like about this cover here, look, that covers up sort of the throttle cable bodies and what have you, actually polished steel, I think that is. I recently rode the BMW R12S, which is a retro bike. It's got similar covers on there, but they're made of plastic, and that's a BMW costing, I think it was like 18 grand. This bike is less than 7 grand. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this build quality at all. In fact, it's so sturdy, it feels like it's built from girders. Pea-shooter exhaust, really pleased to say it's got two on here, it being a twin, one coming out of each cylinder. I don't quite know how Royal Enfield have done this to make it compliant with Euro rules, because I can't see any boxes of tricks underneath, but clearly it works, and they sound fantastic. And with the two of them, you've got a lovely sort of almost stereo effect when you're riding along, and they pop and bang and it looks great. Something I don't think looks great on this bike is this rear seat, obviously put there for pillion provision, but the beauty of this, like the Classic 350 before it, you can unbolt all this little subframe here, take that all off and end up with just the single seat and the big mudguard, and that makes the bike look so much better with that off. And if I had one of these, I would definitely do that and decide I'm not going to take passengers on it. The rear light is LED as well. These aren't, these are old school sort of filament type bulbs. But yeah, as a styling exercise, I think they've done brilliantly on here. There's nothing about this that I don't like other than this colour, but that's a personal thing. As indeed is looks, you might not like it at all. I'll be interested to see in the comments how you think this stacks up against other retros and whether you think other manufacturers should make bikes from this era.
Okay, welcome back aboard the mighty Classic 650. I say the mighty Classic 650 because one of the things you notice when you jump on and ride it is just how big this bike feels. I mean, the 350 didn't feel small either particularly, but this feels properly large, like you're on a Harley Cruiser or something. It's got that sort of feel about it. It feels massive between your legs as well. This big old fuel tank splays your legs out a fair way. I quite like it. It feels solid. In terms of its riding position, it is super comfortable as you'd expect. I'm sat absolutely upright. My feet are ahead of my hips and my arms are not quite outstretched up front, but very, very comfortable, and the seat I find very comfortable as well. What I would say is you can feel quite a few vibes through the seat, which surprised me because on the other 650 pound bikes I've ridden, like the Interceptor and more recently the Bear, I don't really experience any vibes. But there is a bit of high frequency vibration through the seat and the little bit through the handlebars and pegs. Not too much though, not enough to put me off the bike by any means, and I would judge that as character, so actually it's probably a good thing on a bike like this. So a big tick in the box as far as comfort is concerned. I mean, personally, now we're going into winter, I would like to see some heated grips on the bike, but given it comes from India, I guess that may be something we're waiting for a long time. I'm sure you can get aftermarket heated grips, although they would be a bit of a shame to fit because these grips on here I really like. They're brown on here, look. They've got Royal Enfield emblazoned on them. They've got a nice shape to them, same as the ones on the Bear that I rode recently. They just feel really nice in the hand. And the whole sort of handlebar setup on this bike is right up my street for a bike that's, as I say, modelled on a sort of late 1940s look. They've got it absolutely bang on. The switch gear is this more, well, I call it more modern Enfield switch gear because it's different to the stuff that came on the original Interceptor in that it's the Bakelite rotary stuff. But it feels nice to the hand and it does look completely in keeping with the bike. And then the instrument binnacle, which is all integrated into the headlight, I mean, it just looks classic, doesn't it? You know, it is a classic bike, and that Speedo to me is exactly what you should have on a bike like this. It's also got a little LCD panel down here with the fuel gauge and things like your trip counters and what have you, so it's got everything you need and nothing else besides. What it's also got is the Royal Enfield Tripper, this little nav device down here. I can't for the life of me work out how to connect it to my phone because I don't have a manual with the bike, but if you own one yourself, clearly you'd studied the manual, and then you can hook this up to Google Maps and you've got nav built in, so what more do you need on a bike, really? I just think that looks great. I love this massive triple clamp here. It looks like it's been engineered by burly blokes with spanners. Everything about the bike feels solid. The mirrors are the classic Enfield ones we've seen before, Mickey Mouse but in keeping with the bike. They're rock solid. I've got a great view out the back. Absolutely no problem with the switch gear and the layout of the instrumentation and so on all this is, for the type of bike it is, I think absolutely top notch. Right, a bit of gravel here as I go up my bumpy suspension test road. And the suspension on here, of course, nothing particularly sophisticated, but it's doing a nice job. This normally rattles my teeth out up here, but the suspension is set nice and soft. I'm not a particularly heavy person, I'm only around about 11.5 stone at the moment, and for my weight this seems to be set perfectly in terms of comfort setting. I don't know if you were a heavier man or lady, whether in fact you might risk bottoming out the suspension because it seems perfectly set for me. I've criticised Royal Enfield suspension in the past because it can get out of shape when you push on, but this isn't really the sort of bike that you do push on, and so yeah, I think it's absolutely fine. Non-adjustable, nothing particularly special about it, as I say, but it works fine for this sort of machine. Clutch has got quite a heavy action. The gearbox is nice and positive, you know when you've changed gear on it. Yeah, and a very satisfying bike to ride actually. It feels properly engineered, if that makes sense. Right, let's go down this little bit which I usually test handling on. Wander up a bit. And yeah, this 650 motor in here now really does give the bike much more usable punch, but as you wind it up, I'm doing 60 now down here, in third, quite a lot of vibes through the pegs, tickling my feet like you wouldn't believe. But as soon as I've changed to fourth, they disappeared. But again, quite a lot of vibes through the seat. But I would put that down to character on this bike. Handling seems absolutely fine. It is quite a long bike, quite a raked out fork, so you do need to muscle it round a little bit. But it's not in sort of, it's not like a big cruiser where you properly have to muscle it round. All I'm saying is it's not a particularly agile bike, which you wouldn't expect for something weighing 240 odd kilograms. Right, let's see what she's like accelerating here to the stops, as it were. Hitting the limiter in first at 55, sorry, second in 55, third at 70. But yeah, there's loads to go. Yeah, it'll be fine on the motorway this, you've got loads of power in reserve. So all those complaints I had on the 350 about it not having quite enough poke, those have all been addressed with this bike. Now, of course, as I said, this isn't a sports bike, it's not intended to ride fast, it's not intended about super duper handling, but all motorcycles are exciting, and it's giving me an exciting ride. It probably is. I've got a grin on my face. I'm liking this a lot. Really, the only downside to it is its weight. But you really don't notice that as you ride along. Oh, here we go. Stuck behind me first white van of the review. Alright, while I'm stuck behind the van, let's go through the specs, shall we?
Alright, specs time then, starting with, as ever, this engine. This, of course, is the parallel twin engine that we've seen from Royal Enfield on other bikes like the Interceptor and so on. 648cc it puts out. I can tell that because it is written just there, look, 648cc centimetres cubed, it says there, brilliant. It's a lovely motor. It's been proven now on things like the Interceptor. It's been around for a while now, and I think looks great in this sort of polished finish as well. In terms of numbers, puts out 34.6 kilowatts, which according to my Googling is the equivalent to 48.8 brake horsepower and 52.3 newton meters of torque. It doesn't feel slow, this bike. Brakes on the front taken care of by this single 320mm disc and a 2-pot Royal Enfield badge caliper. On the rear, a 300mm disc with, again, another 2-pot caliper. Not a lot of braking on this bike for a bike that's so heavy. Talking of weight, this bike comes in at a whopping 243 kilograms curb weight, so that's with 90% fuel, I think. So yeah, it is a heavy old beast. Suspension on the front taken care of by these 43mm non-adjustable telescopic forks. On the rear you've got these twin shocks which look absolutely brilliant, but I suspect if you get pressing on might get a bit out of shape, but so far so good. This lovely comfortable seat is a nice and low 800mm, so suitable but for all but the shortest of riders. This beautifully shaped and painted tank has got a capacity of 14.8 litres. Electronics wise, really not too much to write home about. You have got the Tripper navigation device I mentioned before, and hidden under here, if I can get to it, is a little cover look for a USB port, which is quite handy. It's a USB, it's the small one, it's a USB-C, so dead handy for charging your phone or whatever if you want to do that on the bike. Other than that, not really any electronics to speak of other than LED headlamp and tail light. Pricing wise, the bikes vary depending on which colour you go for. So the chrome and black one, which is the one I go for, as I said, £6,799. This blue, or I think it's called actually teal, is £6,599, and the red and white one, £6,499. So an awful lot of bike for not a lot of money, I think.
Okay, welcome back aboard the classic 650. I'm still stuck behind the van, unfortunately, but it does give me a chance with nothing behind me to properly give these brakes a heave. Bike has got ABS, of course, but no traction control. Got nothing behind me now. Let's... Okay, actually, brakes work much better than that single disc would have had me think. Let's just try the rear. ABS cuts in quite quickly on the rear, but it works quite well, actually. That front brake is much better than I anticipated. Give it another yank here. That's fine, the ABS doesn't cut in too soon. Braking's absolutely alright. When I looked at the bike originally, when it rolled off the van, when it got delivered, I thought, on a bike that heavy, those brakes aren't going to be up to much, but no, they're absolutely fine. So we've established she stops and goes pretty well, and she's comfortable, and it looks good, albeit in this strange colour. Maybe there are better options. Well, there definitely are better options. I'd go for the black and chrome. The one other thing that would put me in doubt as to whether I could live one of these is what's it like to move around in your garage and on your driveway. So let's do the old lugging about test at the station car park. So I had somebody comment on one of my videos the other day and said, I really don't see the value in your lugging about test, and which I thought was quite interesting, because I absolutely see the value in this, my lugging about test, because this is where I go to the car park and I move the bike around to see what it feels like getting it off the side stand, checking out what the turning circle is, that sort of thing. And to me that is very important when I'm thinking about buying a bike. How easy is it going to be to live with? What's it like to lift off the side stand? I'm a bit of a wimp, I'm getting a bit weak in my old age, and I like a bike to be easy to move around, or if not, then have some aids to make it easy. So that's what this is all about. So that's what I think the value in this is. So sorry sir, but I respectfully disagree with you, but thank you for watching the video. Alright, we select neutral, very easy to find neutral on here, and the side stand is got a big old lip on it. It's quite far back, but a big lip to get down. Now one thing I have noticed about the stand on this is, and I've never seen this on a bike before, it's painted the same colour as the rest of the bike, and it's got a main centre stand which is also painted the same colour. Never seen that before, but anyway, there we go. So there she is, in the middle of the parking spot. Let's see what it's like to get off that side stand. It is a heavy bike, but it doesn't go over that far, so it's actually quite easy to lift off. It does feel quite heavy when you're bouncing it there. Right, let's get it onto full lock, and round we go. Yeah, you can definitely feel the weight there. Obviously if it's bounced up right properly, then it's not a big deal. Round we go. Let's see how she does from a turning circle point of view. Yeah, once you go uphill, that's when you start to feel that weight. Okay, pretty good actually. So middle of that to the middle of that puts it in the medium category in terms of turning circle. Didn't feel as bad as I thought it was going to actually for shifting around. I've not mentioned on this video, I've got a bad shoulder, so for me, shifting bikes around is quite tricky, but that wasn't too bad. So yeah, I'd be lying to say it's, you know, a lightweight, easy to move bike, but it's not that terrible either. So yeah. Nice looking thing, isn't it? This colour's starting to grow on me a bit actually. Alright, just as I depart the station, I might as well just see what this is like at really slow speeds. So I'm in first gear and I've taken my hand fully off the clutch, looks, and no throttle. So it's just chugging along and indicated to about 8 miles an hour. Absolutely fine. Can't go any slower than that without feathering the clutch and giving it some brake. And if you do that, yeah, it feels quite balanced. From a weight point of view, I'm not wobbling all over the place. You can creep along fine, so if you were going to do some commuting, if this was your only bike, you could certainly do that. Let's just get her up into second and ride slowly and see how she behaves. Here we are, look, 10 miles an hour, second gear. No, it's not crashing and banging around. Easy peasy, nice bit of fueling. Rides like a modern bike. There's no reason why it shouldn't do. As I did this the other day, I came out that way, which was against the arrows. And while I'm talking about comments from people, someone said, why did you drive around the car park in the wrong direction? Just like, flipping heck. It's not bad enough having the government making it a nanny state. Anyway, I went round, I followed the arrows the right way this time, so you'll be pleased to see. Not having a good day today as far as being stuck behind traffic's concerned. It's about 11 o'clock on a Thursday when I'm recording this. It is turning into a nice day actually. Look, the trees are starting to change now, it's autumn. But sadly I am still stuck behind this white van. I've not had a chance to overtake him. Sun's threatening to come out though, so all is well with the world. And this is one of those bikes that just makes you appreciate being on a motorcycle. There's nothing complicated to distract you. It's just the sort of bike for cruising around country lanes, and you could have a jolly good time on it, I have to say. And on this first ride, this first little tickle with it, I mean, you really never get to know a bike properly until you've lived with them for a while, do you? But on this first little tickle, there's nothing about the bike that I don't like. It's I hate making reviews like that. People say, oh, you just say nice things because you want to borrow more bikes from manufacturers. Well, I can guarantee you that's not the case. I say what I think of a bike. I tend to borrow bikes that I think I'm going to like, so the chances are I'm going to be quite positive about them. But if I find bad things, then I'll let you know. In the case of this, it's only really those few vibes, but when you're riding along like this, I'm doing 40 now in fourth, those vibes have completely gone. And this is the sort of poodling along type riding that I'd mostly do on here. So that wouldn't put me off buying one. And at less than £7 it seems to be an awful lot of bike for the money. You could ride it every day as your daily rider, you could take it on tour. It's got enough legs and enough poke now with that bigger engine that you could go away and have a holiday on it. I think Enfield even do some soft luggage for it. Stick that on the back. You'd have a great time going on tour on this, and you could ride it all day long without any aches and pains. Yeah, it's a nice thing. Yet again from Royal Enfield, it's the thumbs up. And in fact, thinking through the range that I've ridden now, I find all the 350s probably a little bit underpowered on the Enfields. I get criticised for saying that, but that is just my feeling. I do like the 650s I've ridden. I like the Interceptor, of course. I bought one. I love the Bear, which I said I would rather have than an Interceptor. What's the other? There's another cruiser type one, isn't there? I can't remember the name of it. It's got the 650 engine in as well. Shotgun, that's it. Reminded myself. I quite like the Shotgun. But out of all the 650 powered Enfields, I think for me, this is probably the one to have now. Maybe it's just because it's a little bit different. I can't think of any other retro bikes on the market today that hark back to this era. This looks properly old school. I think to the non-motorcycling public, if you park this up somewhere, you'd probably attract a lot of attention and get people chatting to you about how old it is and all that sort of caper. And it genuinely has that old school feel about it. It's not so modern, even though it's got a modern engine, fuel injection, all that sort of thing. It has got that sort of old school charm, but it's not so over the top like you get on, dare I say it, some Harley Davidsons, where the old school charm on them actually makes it flipping difficult to ride and becomes a nuisance. There's nothing difficult about riding this. I like it very much. I'll have one in black and chrome, please, Royal Enfield. Alright, so there we are. That's another first ride review in the can. Hope you enjoyed that. So I was interested to see whether this bike with the 650 engine in would be a success, and it absolutely is. It's the one to have. Forget the 350 Classic. You can take that off the market, Royal Enfield. No one wants that. Some people will. But no, this is the one to have as far as I'm concerned. I really like it. So thank you to you for watching once again. If you've not subscribed to the channel, do consider doing so. I don't just do bike reviews here on the Missenden Fly, but I do bits and pieces about looking after your bike. I do reviews, sorry, not reviews, tours at home and abroad, monthly bike news, the odd live stream, bits and pieces about looking after your bike in the garage. You name it, I'll try and cover it here. It'll be great to have you along next time. Right, I'm going to be stuck on these stop-go boards now, and then I'm going to hunt for some more sunshine and enjoy this bike a little bit more. Alright, speak to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missenden Fly. Cheerio.